Chris Wood. Greetings, Mr. Shelton. In a variety of your videos, you reference and/or describe a host of orgs, each replete with its own management. In my own layman's understanding of any type of organizational management, especially in a for-profit environment, it's not only important but necessary to recruit and to promote people with the proper skill sets and experience to run an organization. From watching your videos, it seems to me that practically nobody at any level in Scientology has any idea as to how to run anything, let alone managing others and running a quasi-business type endeavor. It just seems like they, Scientologists, just pick any old Tom, Dick, or Harry and give them a management position. I'm curious as to the qualifications Scientology requires for its various levels of management. Could you explain this, please? Yeah, first off, in terms of structure, if you guys haven't seen it, I did lay out the structure of Scientology management in a whole other video. It's a very long one, and I put diagrams and things in it, right? So you can see how Scientology is laid out in its hierarchy of levels of organizations and how that management structure works. So that's something you need to watch separately. I'm not going to explain all that again. But here's the attitude in Scientology, and this goes all the way back to the beginning of the Sea organization in 1967. And this attitude goes throughout Scientology, and it is that you have lived millions and millions of lives in the past. Therefore, you already know how to do anything we're going to ask you to do. And this is especially true in the Sea organization. This isn't quite as hardcore at the staff level or at the public level, but with the Sea Org, this is all it is. And Sea Org are the management structure of Scientology. So you have your local churches, and then you have, the management groups that exist at different levels above that, continental level, international level. That's all Sea Org. So the management attitude, the entire attitude of Scientology, of the Sea Org, is make it go right. Right? This is what Hubbard referred to as the supreme test, right? Is a being's ability to make things go right. In other words, just get the job done, and I don't want to hear any excuses why you can't do it. And this attitude, very much pervades the Sea organization. So when you are given a post or a position, it's just start, just do it, go, let's go, bam, bam, bam. Let's make things happen, right? And then you're given, as you go, on the job training, and you go into the course room during your study time when you can get it, and you study Hubbard policies and issues and references describing various policies and procedures for your job so that you can get it better, right? But you not being trained for your job is no excuse to not do your job. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why Scientology is so bloody inefficient and makes so many mistakes, and is not, an expanding, thriving, growing organization. In addition to the fact that the leader, the guy at the top, is completely nuts, and is extremely authoritarian and dictatorial. In addition to all of that, there is this problem with all of the management not really totally understanding their jobs. And this was, when I worked at Continental Management, this was a problem because we knew we didn't know how to run an org, and yet we were running the orgs. And very, very few people who are in management have been promoted up from a position where they were running an org. There are some, but not a lot, right? And there were times when some of these organizations were failing and they had to have their executives removed, and somebody from the Sea organization, from the management level, had to be sent down on a temporary basis to run the show, right? To take over as the executive running the organization. They would send in, maybe a small team of 3 or 4 people to run the organization, sometimes only 1 or 2. Those people didn't hardly ever know what they were doing, and they didn't really do much better of a job than the people who were there before, who didn't know what they were doing, right? So this whole thing just kind of goes, in this sort of vicious circle, in this cycle of somebody gets put onto a post or a position, they do the best they can, they try to get trained for it as fast as they can, they try to work out what to do and how to do it, and then eventually, either sooner or later, they fail, they bomb. And then they get, slapped around, they get taken off that post, and somebody else gets put there. And it's this sort of revolving door sort of situation. Very, very, very few Scientology and Sea Org executives have lasted in their posts or on their senior executive positions for very long. I think I know of less than 10 internationally who have held their position or their post for longer than 10 years, right? It's like that. And of course, after 10 years, you kind of know what you're doing. You've sort of figured it out. But, a lot of guys, they last months, a year or two, and they just can't take it. I was in management for, 8 years. It took me, about 3 to actually figure out what the hell I was doing in running all of the technical divisions of the Western United States organizations, which was my job, right, as management. Overseeing all the courses and the auditing and everything. That took a long time for me to figure out. And when I first showed up there, I was swimming, totally swimming. Didn't have any idea what I was doing. But that's the Sea Org attitude, right? And it is a double-edged sword in terms of what it does to you. It raises your competency. It raises your necessity to do good and do things right and figure stuff out because you're just thrown on, man, and you better make it work. So you have, you are like figuring things out that you never imagined you could figure out. But on the other hand, while that's kind of good in the long run, if it helps you, and you rise to the occasion, on the other hand, there's this whole cyclic problem of people who don't make it, don't rise to the occasion, can't figure things out, and they just get removed. And this all goes back to L. Ron Hubbard. This is not David Miscavige. This is L. Ron Hubbard. This is how he set things up all the way back to 1967 when he was running things with the Sea Org. And they were sailing around in the Mediterranean and along the English coast and the European coast with people who were on these boats who did not have any sailor training, any idea what they were doing, and they made a total botch mess of it over and over and over again. When you read the accounts of what life was like for these guys, oh my God, it's amazing they lived. Because the sea is dangerous. And Hubbard was just, you're the chief engineer now. And it was like, okay, and off the guy would go. And he didn't know anything about engineering, And we're talking about kids too. 15, 16, 17-year-old Sea Org members at the time, who were, considered executives on these ships, and engineers and whatnot. So it's kind of miraculous that people are able to rise to the occasion as much as they are when put in positions like that. But it's also, you see the results with Scientology internationally. It's a mess, and it's a mess because Hubbard's attitude about the whole thing was totally wrong. So there you go.